my name is Michael Bertoia. I've been with Bertoia Auctions for 8 years now, full-time, and handled a number of collections from Donald Kaufman to Dick Claus's boats, pressed steel collections, mechanical banks, cast iron toys, tin toys, and such. Bank collecting was essentially an American phenomenon that began as early as 1850s with the wood banks, into the 1880s with the cast iron. As a middle class emerged, it was a great way for parents to try to invoke the art of thrift to their children. It was a good way to incorporate saving money and playing with a plaything at the same time. And interestingly enough, the children and the adults liked the banks equally, I think. In antique toy bank collecting, an important part is knowing what you're buying, which certainly comes from educating yourself, reading as much as you can, meeting with collectors, meeting with dealers, and going to auctions. There are mechanical banks, semi-mechanical banks. There are also still banks. Mechanical banks have a mechanical action which hitting a lever activates a spring to make the deposit into the bank itself. Mechanical banks actually began as wooden banks. As a material as iron became available and they started to cast it into different shapes and designs, that's when the cast iron bank emerged in the United States. A little bit later came the tin lithograph banks that you see from the German manufacturers. Semi-mechanical banks, by making a coin deposit, can either change a number and register how much money's in the bank. By making enough deposits into the bank, it can release the trap, therefore allowing access to the money. Or it can be as simple as when the coin gets deposited, it chimes a bell as a sign of appreciation for the deposit it made to the saving. Still banks are often cast iron or tin, and they're standard, strictly saving banks. They're a whimsical or detailed design, but it has a coin slot in the back, and it's essentially today's piggy bank. I never suggest anyone collects simply for investment. I think it should be a matter of enjoyment, and the two things can often go hand in hand. In terms of value, in terms of investment, originality is the most important part of bank collecting. Original paint, not touched up, some paint flaking, some fading is acceptable. Repainting to make it look new is not as acceptable. Rarity is the second thing that I think is very important in bank collecting. The rarity of the bank certainly makes it more desirable for collectors, as it's certainly harder to come by. Ironically, the pieces that were not as popular at the time of production are the ones that are heavily sought out today. The other details that are important in seeking out banks are banks that are free of cracks, repairs, damages, and any blemishes. Some of the very old banks have fantastic appeal, whether it's the action of the depositing itself, or whether it's the colors, or whether it's the designs. So a very common bank in fantastic condition can be very valuable, but as can a very old bank, which is very rare, which doesn't quite have the condition, because it's very possible that there isn't such example with the strong condition in that old bank. For a novice bank collector, it can be very difficult to identify a repair or a repainted bank. Your eye and your gut instinct is usually the best thing, but there are a few tools which can assist in determining the authenticity of a bank. One is using a black light over the paint to see if the paint reflects back, suggesting that it was painted with lead paint originally, as opposed to unleaded paint in more recent years. Another is a magnet test, where you can put a magnet onto the cast iron to see if it sticks, as opposed to another metal such as bronze or lead, where it may not. I think bank collecting certainly puts a lot of smiles on children and adults' faces. It's proven time and time again to be a safe investment and a good place to put your money, both the dollars and the coins. For those who are unable to attend an auction or a show, or get out of the house, you can go on to www.liveauctioneers.com and have access to a number of auctions who will be hosting high-end antique toy auctions.